What's up, guys? We're back. Did you miss me? It's been a few months since we recorded one of these, but that's because during the summer we did things a little differently in LFBC Youth. We had an awesome summer. Wednesday nights we did community missions and after parties, and so we worked at several local organizations, served alongside them, then did some fun stuff afterwards and had awesome crowds and really an awesome time. And I've used awesome a lot, haven't I? We also had 2 mission trips. They were incredible. Saw a number of people come to know Christ through some of our students in Colorado. Had a great experience with 3 church planters in Kansas City as well. Had a great church camp where one of our students led one of our other students to Christ. We've had baptisms. We've had all kinds of awesome stuff. But we're excited to get back to the school year, to the semester. I know a lot of you guys probably aren't excited about school, but we're excited about a new semester of LFBC Youth. So this semester we are going to be looking at the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're not going to necessarily go straight through it in the sense of Ecclesiastes 1 through this, 2 through that, whatever. We are going to hit on stuff in each book and go through a whole lot of it, and we titled the series, What's This Life For? And so we're going to be looking at this journey that the author of Ecclesiastes went on, trying to find purpose, trying to find meaning, trying to find what's this life for. So in the book of Ecclesiastes, he went on this search for meaning to find what ultimately matters, and ultimately he finds that life is vanity without God as the focus and the center. And this week we're just going to kind of introduce that series and set it up with some stuff. I want to start off, though, by talking about a man named John Berryman. John Berryman was a 20th century poet. He was an elite, top-of-the-barrel poet in the 20th century. He was well-loved as a university professor. He was a Pulitzer Prize winner. He had fame, he had friendship, he had fortune, he had all kinds of things. He seemingly had it all. He seemingly had hit the gold at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. In January of 1972, after waving to a stranger, he jumped off a bridge, threw himself into an icy river in Minnesota. And he wrote a note before that said, at 55, half famous and effective, I still feel rotten about myself. And in one of his poems he had written, after all has been said and all has been done and all has been said and all has been done, man is a huddle of need. We all feel that way at some point. We all feel like wanderers, W-A-N-D-E-R, wondering, W-O-N-D-E-R, what it's all about. What's the purpose? What's the meaning to my life? Solomon's work in the Bible, called Ecclesiastes, chronicles this search in his life. And it's symbolic of the journey that all of us go on to find purpose, to find meaning, to understand the why of our existence. So, first I want to talk about the background on the likely author of Ecclesiastes. And I just mentioned Solomon. It's not 100% certain that it's him. Technically, it's an anonymous book, but there's some evidence that seems pretty clear that it's him. Ecclesiastes 1 and 2 says this, and that's all I'm going to read from from the beginning of Ecclesiastes today. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Absolute futility, says the teacher. Absolute futility. Everything is futile. Son of David, king of Jerusalem. There's a lot of other things that point towards Solomon as the likely author, but that's why I said it likely. We don't know 100% certain. But I want to talk about a couple of things related to Solomon to kind of set this up, if indeed it is Solomon who's the author, and we're going to go on that perspective this semester. Solomon was the son of David, and he was a king of Israel. So he's born into royalty. He's born with a silver spoon, if you will. There's an air of greatness that surrounds him. He was given a name, Jedediah, which means beloved of the Lord. He had this great destiny from birth. He's the son of David and Bathsheba, and David was possibly the most well-liked, most popular, the GOAT, if you will, of kings. He's wildly popular. He had these unprecedented achievements, and that's what Solomon was born into. Son of David, king of Israel. He was the wisest and best educated person in the land. In 1 Kings chapter 3, 5 through 15, there's a story where God asked Solomon to make any request. Now think about that. If you were asked to make any request, what would you ask for? A lot of people would say good looks. A lot of people would say popularity. A lot of people would say unprecedented wealth. A lot of people would say cars and houses and jobs and top of the food chain and all these kinds of things. Solomon chose wisdom. And pardon the pun, but it was a wise decision. And granted that, he was given access to many other things. Israel enjoyed a golden age while he was there. He became the most intelligent man around. So he's wise. He's well educated. He was a man who got results. He was a mover and a shaker. He was a results guy. He became the richest man. He grew this magnificent empire. He had alliances. He had treaties. He had land. He had an incredible portfolio. He had architecture. He had gardens. He had all kinds of stuff. He had power. He had wealth. He had fame. He had fortune. He had influence. He had relationships and more. He was someone worth knowing, someone worth listening to. But he drifted from the Lord because of worldly entanglements. Early in his life, he passionately pursued the Lord. There's a great prayer in 2 Chronicles 7:14 that's when Solomon is kind of at the height of his life. But later he drifted into sinful desires. He's pulled away by the greed. He's pulled away by chasing wealth and fame and all of these types of things. He became greedy. He became lustful. He became foolish. He became power hungry. He became idolatrous. He became compromising. And he settled into a life of frustration, emptiness, loneliness, and confusion. So that's Solomon, if in fact he was the author. That's some background, and that gives a lot of good background for what we're going to talk about over the course of this semester. So let's talk about kind of an overview of Solomon's conclusions. And the first is this: anything without God is meaningless. Absolute futility, he says. It's like the movie Groundhog Day. Same thing over and over again, chasing after stuff and getting nowhere. It's like factory workers who punch in, punch out, 40-hour week, can't wait till the weekend so that they can waste the weekend, get drunk, get wasted, sober up, and do it all over again the next week. Anything without God is meaningless. It's vanity. It's chasing after the wind. It's smoke and mirrors. At the top, Solomon found it was an illusion. It was nothing. It was meaningless. It was empty. It was hollow. It was futile. It was hopeless. It was smoke. And it's as if he's saying life is utterly, absolutely meaningless under the sun. And that's a phrase that's throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, under the sun. Life under the sun. Life on this earth without God. Sir Edmund Hillary and John Krakauer were two men who scaled Mount Everest. And both said something similar after climbing Everest. They said, I've worked all my life to get here, and now I don't know what to do. Or I've worked all my life to get here, and I spent 5 minutes, took a picture, and climbed back down. That's the way many people are with life. Solomon found it all empty. He found it all meaningless. He found on top, on bottom, and everywhere in between it was meaningless without God. What did he really have? What could he take to the grave? And he asks, is this all that there is? His second conclusion through the book, and we'll get into these later as we go into the semester, is that we need each other. In Ecclesiastes 4, it says 2 are better than 1. Relationships matter. We're made for community. We're made for relationships. We're made for each other. We can do more together than we can do alone. We can share joys and triumphs. We can carry each other through hardships. We're harder to break when we're together than when we're alone. God designed us for each other. God designed us to share life. God designed us to need each other. We need each other. The third thing, in Ecclesiastes 5, he says, guard your steps when you go near to the throne of God. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. We're created religious. We're created, well, first let me back up and say this. God is supreme and we are not. That's the point here. We're created religious. We're created with this God-shaped vacuum inside all of us. It's not meant to be a ritual. It's not meant to be a charade going through the motions. It's not meant to be something we do 1 hour a week. God is holy. God is in his holy temple and we are not. And he's deserving of our worship. We can't take that lightly. We're to respect that. We're to respect him. We're to honor him. We're to live in awe of him. Don't go through the motions and don't trumpet your religion as a show. Be ready to listen more than to talk, to hear God instead of telling him how to do it. So that's his third conclusion. God is supreme and we are not. And then his fourth one, found at the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, is that the meaning of life is found in giving ourselves fully to God. In chapter 12, he says, all has been seen and heard. Here's the conclusion. Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. It's the meaning to life passage. Everything's meaningless without a proper focus on God. We fear him in a broken, fallen, confusing, frustrating world. We fear God. No matter what else we have going for us, we can't find meaning without him. Solomon tried, and God put it in the Bible so we don't have to. What gives significance is finding pleasure in God and what he gives us alone. Solomon was blunt. He experienced a lot of things. He went through a lot. He was an expert on a lot because he had tried it, because he had done it, because he had experienced it. His resume, his portfolio, it would stack up to anybody's. So for us, the challenge is this: why try chasing after these things? God gave us an entire book of the Bible where one man searched after these things and didn't find meaning. Solomon found that it was futile when he did all these things. And we can learn from that. Listen to him. Listen to God. Save yourself the heartache and pain of chasing after all the things that we tend to chase after, that our world tends to chase after. There is meaning to life. There is purpose to life. There is an answer to the why am I here, but it's only found in God. All the things we think matter so much will never give the meaning that we desire. Avoid going down those roads. They'll leave you empty. They'll leave you purposeless. Find it in Him alone. That's what this series, that's what this book is all about.